At what age do you actually peak in track and field? Today we're answering the question every track athlete obsesses over. And to answer this question, I went through every single Olympic medalist from 1980 in Moscow to Paris 2024. That's 12 games, hundreds of athletes, exact ages down to the day on the day they won their medal. From the 100 meter to the marathon, men and women, and also the oldest and youngest athletes in each of these events. And the big takeaway, you can stay faster a lot longer than you think. For the men's and women's sprints, my expectations compared to reality were already totally wrong. Here are the average ages to medal in the 100 meter to the 400 meter for men and women. For the men's 100 meter, it's 26.1 years old, 25.21 for the 200, and 24.53 for the 400. Right away, we noticed that with each event, the average age is declining. My expectation was totally opposite, as I would have thought your speed endurance gets better as you get older and your speed would decline, but it turns out it's actually the other way around. You keep your speed longer than your speed endurance. For the women's 100 meter, the average age is 26.69, the 200 is 26.16, and the 400 is 26.0. So even in the women's sprints, we see the same theme of prime athletes getting younger as the sprints get longer. I have a couple theories on why this is. Number one is we overemphasize the decline of power and speed as we age, as I've said before, as well as overestimate as how well we're going to hold on to our speed endurance as we age. And number two is that the 100 meter is the prime event in track and field. Everyone knows the fastest man and woman in the world. In a sport with very little money, the lion's share of it goes down to the world's fastest man and woman, so it just makes sense that these athletes just stay and compete longer rather than retiring and moving on with their lives. Here are the oldest and youngest athletes to medal in each of the sprinting events, meaning every athlete to have ever medaled falls between this range. These ranges are not long at all. You're going to find the same theme as this video goes on. The age range of your peak fitness is such a small window, and even smaller when you look at each of these athletes on an individual basis. Merlene Ottey was a massive outlier in the 100 meter and 200, being the oldest athlete to medal in the 100 and 200 at two separate Olympics. I can't stress enough how crazy that is. Imagine being the oldest person ever to do something and then doing it again 4 years later in a different event. That's longevity at its finest. Moving on to the hurdles, this one met more of my expectations. For men's 110 meter hurdles, we have the average age of each medalist being 26.85 and 26.63 for the 400 meter hurdles. Then we have the women's 100 and 400 meter hurdles being 26.79 and 26.78 years respectively. Here are the oldest and youngest athletes to win each event. The technicality of hurdles takes time. As athletic as the event is, training for the technical aspect is so much more important, which is why you see hurdlers peaking later than sprinters, even though it's the same distance. On to the men's middle distance and distance events, as well as steeple. We have the average age of each medalist being between 25.1 for the 800 and progressing up to 25.7 for the 3,000 meter steeplechase. And here are the oldest and youngest athletes in each event, which includes two of my favorite runners, Johnny Gray and Nick Willis. On the women's side, we see a different story on these age gaps as the distance goes up. The 800 and 3,000 meter steeplechase athletes are similarly aged to the men's side, but we really do see an outlier in the 1,500 meter, as the average female 1,500 meter Olympic medalist is 27.89 years old, but these outliers do happen. And we see a similar story in the average ages of men's and women's medalists in the distance events. The 5,000 meter to the marathon, the ages creep up a little bit in the 5K and 10K with the exception of the men's 10K, and then you see a multiple year age gap between the 10,000 meter and the marathon, where both of the ages are in their late 20s. Here are the oldest and youngest athletes to medal in each of the distance events and between each gender. We have the oldest track Olympic medalist for all events on the men's side, 37-year-old Carlos Lopez, who won gold in 1984 in the marathon, and the second oldest female to medal in all of track and field being 38-year-old Constantina Tamuscu in the marathon. I know I'm butchering her name, I'm just trying my best here. But the oldest athlete ever to medal is Merlene Ottey in the 100, being 40 years old when she won a bronze in 2000. Once again, to do that at 40 and to maintain that intensity and speed at that age is crazy. Easily the biggest surprise when doing this video. And her medal should make you think how fast you can run as you get older. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Back to the video. And there you have it, the peak age of each track event. Some interesting notes to make is that I don't think the average ages are as accurate in the distance events as they are in the sprints, specifically on the men's side. The men's side, middle distance and distance events have been African dominated since around 1980. And like I said in a video covering this subject here, Age cheating is rampant in African countries. African athletes tend to exaggerate their age on the younger side in order to have an advantage over other athletes in their age class competition, as well as competing for professional contracts. For example, you're more likely to give a professional contract to a sub 4-minute miler who's 16 than one who's 20. So more than likely, the average ages of the Olympic medalists from the 800 to the marathon are slightly older than stated. One thing that immediately jumps out is that in every event, the average female medalist is older than their male medalist counterpart, meaning women peak later in their careers than guys do. This can be from a variety of factors, anything from women being more reluctant to hang up their track spikes to male hormones being the primary drivers of track success. And as we age, we have less of them. Or more likely a combination of a bunch of things. I think in another 40 years, when we look back, we'll see ages creep higher as shoes get better and the sport gets bigger. But the main takeaway from this list is how short your Olympic window is. The time where your body can perform at its best involves a lot of hard work, discipline, genetics, and luck. From the 100 meter to the marathon, the average age of Olympic medalists are 25 to 29 years old. That is a small blip in someone's lifespan, yet the amount of things that have to go right in an athlete's life in the years leading up to that age in order to medal at the Olympics is unbelievable. A single injury can derail your progress. A coach retiring and a more inadequate one replacing them can set you up for failure. A chaotic race can take you out of contention from no fault of your own. So much needs to be perfect in the years prior to the weeks and then the days leading up to the race, as well as race day itself. And all that needs to go right up until your mid to late 20s, not a second too late. The oldest athletes to medal in each of these events are around 8 years older than the average. The only 40-year-old here is Ottey. The oldest male to medal is 37. So if you're an athlete, appreciate the prime years and know it won't last forever. Once it's gone, there's no going back, so leave it all out there. But leave a comment down below if you're not in your prime yet, or if you're old and cooked like me, let me know that too. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.